Hello, and thanks for joining me for episode number 246. Today's podcast is brought to you by Mainlight, a national dry hire rental provider specializing in supplying the latest lighting and stage equipment technology. Their extensive rental inventory includes moving lights, truss solutions, control consoles, LEDs, and an array of weather-resistant IP65 rated fixtures, perfect for outdoor venues. Whether for theater productions, outdoor stadium events, or TV film broadcast, Mainlight is the partner you trust with the gear you want. Committed to quality and reliability, Mainlight also provides a robust selection of used sales options to their clients. Each item is meticulously maintained, owned by Mainlight, and comes with a 60-day depot warranty, providing you with confidence in your purchase. Strategically located across the U.S., their 4 locations include Tri-State in Teterboro, Wilmington, Delaware, Nashville, Tennessee, and Las Vegas, Nevada. They combine the vast resources of a national company with the attentive, personalized service of a local provider. Discover how Mainlight can equip your next event by visiting mainlight.com today to get a direct quote through their comprehensive online ordering platform. And today's podcast is also brought to you by Elation, who proudly introduce True Tone technology, a groundbreaking innovation empowering lighting designers to fine-tune CRI from a single fixture to achieve optimal lighting fidelity. With True Tone, designers can adjust CRI within a range from 70 to 93, enabling them to strike the perfect balance between color accuracy and brightness. The flexibility to adjust color rendering in a single fixture allows for a host of versatile applications. Picture illuminating a presenter with high CRI key light, then seamlessly transitioning to a rock performance with full-on power looks. Or imagine spotlighting the newest model car during an auto show launch event, showing off its true color, then adjusting to illuminate a performer on stage for high-fidelity broadcast. True Tone's adjustable fidelity is unique and opens up a world of possibilities. Elation's new Proteus Odeon profile moving head is the first lighting fixture to feature the new True Tone system, and the technology will be implemented into other Elation fixtures moving forward. Discover the possibilities with True Tone today at elationlighting.com. Okay, so that was a little weird. I have a temporary system I'm using right now, and I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. But yeah, it's causing me a little bit of anxiety and some funkiness, but we'll get through it because that's what we do. We make it work. And so anyways, I want to dedicate at least part of the intro today to our, and I say our, I mean our, the industry, great friend, Craig Burrows, who, of course, passed away last week, sadly, and tragically and suddenly. And so, yes, Craig was sick. Yes, Craig had a very, very angry bout of cancer that came back a couple of times. We don't yet know if that's ultimately what caused his demise, but I guess there's some suspicion around that. But anyways, yeah, we thought he beat it. And sadly, Craig is gone now. And so my own story, I know everyone has theirs. My story, basically, Craig and I met in the early 90s. And at the time, he was already at High-End Systems, and I was at Martin. And one thing I would say is Craig was a fierce but fair and fun competitor. And, you know, every time we saw each other at trade shows, at bars at trade shows, inevitably, and or even, crossed paths at a customer demo or whatever it was, Craig was always super cool. We'd hug or we'd shake hands or whatever it was, and we could always have a beer as buddies. And and then try and gut each other in the sale. Try to kill each other in a sale, but hugging it out at the bar afterwards or whatever. Right? It reminds me of UFC fighters. But we just hit it off right away. I always said this guy's cool. I love high-end systems. I really like Craig. I really like Robert Mokry. I really like Richard Bellevue and Lowell Fowler. He was just one of those guys that was just such a cool part of such a cool company. And, to me, Craig, Robert, Richard, Lowell, Bob, they symbolized what high-end was, and really, that to me was the company. When all those guys were gone, that company to me, in a lot of ways, just disappeared because, product is product is product. I think we're showing that right now. The industry is showing that, everybody's got really great products. So at the end of the day, it really still comes down to who the people are that you're dealing with in these companies. And, to me, Craig was one of the founders of that philosophy. And as was I probably was as well. I had a lot of friends when I worked at moving light companies. And, some of those friends were competitors, some were customers, some were whatever. And then, eventually I left Martin, and I got a really weird call from High End to come and meet with them and possibly join them. And I did meet with them, and they pretty much rolled out the red carpet and brought me on to their team. Again, a funny story. Me and Wiseman, both the exact same day, started in the company, and we were both a secret. So we both showed up in their building, and everyone just kind of went, "What are these guys doing here?" And, even Craig didn't know. Craig, Mokry, they didn't know. So when we showed up, they kind of went, "Whoa, what is going on here?" And, one of the stories I don't think I've ever shared is Craig and Craig took me under his wing on his first Northeast, or on my first Northeast road trip as a high-end employee. And Craig always handled the Northeast, or not always, but for a long period of time, Craig handled the Northeast for High End. And so he introduced me to Idis. That was, I think, the first time I met Idis was with Craig on this road trip in 1997, I believe. And we were in a meeting with Dean Danowitz at Starlight, one of the local competitors to Mainlight, and still a very successful company. And I met Dean. He introduced me to Dean. And remember, some of these people, I didn't know them because back in the early days of moving lights, you had your brand. You were a high-end house. You were a Verilight house. You were a Claypacky house. You were a Martin house. And you really didn't cross over those lines very often. So I didn't have access. Plus, I didn't have the product to compete with high-end in most cases. But I didn't have access to the high-end dealers, customers. And so whenever, High End had these, like the main lights of the world, generally there were people that I could wave to at a trade show and they might know who I am, but I was never selling them product. I didn't have a relationship with them. So anyways, we're sitting in Dean Danowitz's office, and I don't think we had any product with us. But Dean wanted to bring up a complaint. And Craig said, "Shoot, bring it." And he says, "The Nebula Hazer, you made me buy 8 of these things," or whatever number it was, 4, 2, I don't even remember. But you made me buy these Nebula Hazers. And those of you who are young probably don't remember that High End made a product called a Nebula Hazer. Nebula was a cool name for it. It was nebulous. It was probably not the best product High End ever made. And Dean made us very much aware of that. Dean said, "Craig, the thing is shit." And Craig didn't even try to defend it. And I'm sorry, Lowell and Richard, if you're listening, but instead of trying to defend a bad product, Craig had the greatest line, and I remember it almost verbatim right up to this day, and I've used it myself a couple of times since then, but Craig just, in his Texas accent, said, "Well, everyone has to kick out a turd every now and then." And I just cracked up, and Dean tried to hold a straight face, and then he cracked up as well. And, it just, to this day, it strikes me as one of the greatest all-time comebacks to, your product is shit. He just said, you're right, it's shit. And every once in a while, you make a mistake, we make a mistake. But the way he said it was, everyone kicks out a turd eventually. And, it was just classic Craig. He wasn't going to lie. He wasn't going to make up excuses and tell you our product's great and you just don't know how to use it properly or whatever. That just wasn't him. And right up until last week, that's just how Craig conducted himself. It's how he did business, and it's probably why he has so many friends who have been his customers for 25 or 30 years. Another thing is during COVID, Craig and I spoke pretty much weekly. Craig was quite often, if not always, part of the weekly Zoom calls that I was doing, and really showed a lot of leadership on those calls and just mentorship and, guys, we're going to get through this. Don't worry, we'll get through this. But in between those happy hour calls that I was doing every Wednesday, him and I would speak often. And, of course, he was going through what he was going through as well, his illness. And I think during COVID, he was sort of on an in-between where he was kind of healthy. And then at some point during COVID, he had to fight it again. But, we would speak about issues in the industry, challenges in the industry, solutions to some of those challenges. But most of all, we would talk about humans. We would talk about people and how they were hurting and how we could help. And as everyone knows, and I know as well as anyone does, Craig loved and cared deeply about humans. I mean, to me, it's probably his greatest trait is that he was genuine and he really cared about people. He loved people, and he showed it. He gave the best hugs, and he was always smiling. He was always nice and fun and happy to be around, and always brought the room up. Never brought it down. Always brought it up. And I wish I could live as happy and grateful and cheerful as Craig did. And so most recently, Craig called me on a Thursday, I think, a Thursday or a Friday, and it was the week of the Miami Grand Prix. And he says, Marcel, as luck would have it, I have an extra ticket. In fact, I have two. And they have your name and your son, the racing driver, Jeremy's name on them. I'd love for you to come. And so, of course, we took him up on it. He knew I was a fan, and he knew my son was a driver and would probably, do backflips to get into that race. And so not only did we get into the race, but I mean, Roby did it right. Like, the suite that they had, or the room that we were a part of, was incredible. It's the first time I've ever watched a race in air conditioning, and other than being in the house watching it on television, of course. But it was incredible. The group who were there were really nice people. I appreciated it, and I was very grateful to be a part of it, but more so my son was super, super grateful. And after the weekend, Jeremy said to me, Dad, that guy Craig is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He really was a great guy. And he was. And to be perfectly honest, Jeremy, when I told him on Friday that Craig had passed away, he was like, no, Dad, no, that's just not fair. Like, that guy is a great guy. But, as Jeremy knows, and I know, and we all know, I'm not telling you any secrets here, but unfortunately the good guys go too. And so, but yeah, while I was at that race with Craig, I'm so happy I got to do that, because I feel like we just closed a lot of loops. We had a lot of conversations, deep conversations about life, about his health, and about business, about Roby, about other companies in the industry. And we just got to spend some quiet time together, him and I, like 2 or 3 hours of real deep conversation. And I loved it. And I feel like he loved it too. We walked away from it better people, both of us. And so unfortunately, I had no idea that 2 weeks later he was going to be gone. Otherwise, the hug that I gave him at the end, which was a really great Craig hug, but it would have been different. It would have lasted longer. I probably would have squeezed a little harder, and I might have stayed longer too. I don't know. I might have stayed and had dinner with them that night or something, but I'll miss him. I love that guy. He's an amazing guy. He was a good friend to me for 30 years and to so many of you and to so many others in the industry. So see you on the other side, buddy. So with that said, let's lighten it up a little bit. So Roe, one of our great sponsors, was at the Cannes Film Festival last week, and they showcased the power of virtual production in cooperation with Faber Stipe, whatever that is, and the Institute of Immersive Media, 77th Annual Cannes Film Festival. So that was a pretty big event for Roe, and I'm sure it went over big. They just can't seem to help from winning right now. So Roe is on top of the world, and deservedly so. I mean, they made the investment. They built the right products. They've done a lot of the right things. So good on them, and we're super proud and happy to have them as a supporter and sponsor of Geezers of Gear. And, of course, it would not be Geezers of Gear in 2024 without an AI update. So a few things that I tripped over on my way to this podcast. George Lucas has stepped into the conversation about AI in movies and filmmaking and writing and stuff. And you know that there have been even strikes over this where, everybody is saying, we want to be protected from AI. We want a piece of, whatever. I keep saying it, like, get on the bus or get under the bus. It's going to be one of the two. And so basically what Lucas said is that AI in filmmaking is inevitable, despite whatever resistance is against it, whatever headwinds it has. It's inevitable, and it's coming. And so I was just thinking, does that ring a bell for any of us in this industry? I mean, this is George Lucas of Star Wars fame. He's, one of the big daddies out there, and he's saying it's inevitable. And you got to get comfortable with it. And although he does still say that he believes it's going to be a tool that's going to make people more creative, but there are going to be massive components of films that will be completely generated by AI. XAI, Elon Musk's company, AI company, which sits alongside Tesla and SpaceX and all of the other ones, got a $6 billion investment, which raised his valuation post money to $24 billion. And of course, he and they have big plans ahead. I wouldn't bet against Elon Musk and XAI. One of the things I like about Elon being in this space is that he is very conscious about the bad side, the downside of AI. He's very careful. He wants regulation. He wants some limits. And so I'm pretty happy with the fact that he got a big investment, and he got it from like all of the big names, Sequoia Capital and Andreessen Horowitz, and all of the big Silicon Valley VC investors. So that tells me that they expect him to do really well, and I like that. And by the way, as a side note, has anyone noticed that the B has replaced the M when it comes to talking financial numbers? Like, nobody talks about millions anymore. It's billions. It's crazy how this has happened. Like, I've been noticing this for the last year or so. We don't talk about millionaires anymore. We talk about billionaires. We don't talk about valuations in millions. We talk about it in billions. I remember not that long ago when people were blown away that Facebook got a valuation, or I think it was Instagram, got a valuation of $1 billion, or got $1 billion deal, or YouTube got $1 billion valuation, or whatever it was. I mean, imagine those valuations today. Like, YouTube looks like a freaking bargain basement deal that Google got when they bought YouTube for $1 billion. Like, I don't know what it's worth, but I would guess YouTube is worth $100 billion today. So that, to me, was probably a pretty safe bet. It's probably worth more than $100 billion if you think of the platform that YouTube has now and the number of users they have and the amount of content that they have. It's unbelievable. Netflix CEO says AI won't write better screenplays or surpass great performances. Instead, those who use AI effectively might pose a competitive edge. Again, does this ring a bell? I've talked about this a whole bunch of times on the podcast. I think lighting designers and lighting operators and front of house engineers and video directors and creative directors of all kinds will be better at their job because of AI, not replaced by AI. And those are the ones who embrace it, especially the ones who embrace it early. Get on it, folks. What else? So I mentioned earlier that I'm using a different microphone. You can probably see it. You probably hear the difference. Let me know how it sounds. But I have shipped off my normal podcasting system, the mixer and the microphone and everything, even the red mic cord that you're so accustomed to seeing right here, has shipped off to Canada. So my car left yesterday morning. So said son decided he really wanted to drive my car to Canada. I was just going to rent one in Canada. And he said, nah, I want to drive it up there. So he took my BMW, and him and his buddy, to be 20 again, but him and his buddy left Florida yesterday morning, and they're somewhere in Texas right now as I am recording this, and having a great time. They found some hotel in Alabama last night, and next to a skate park, and so they brought their skateboards and scooters and stuff, and they went and hit the skate park before getting back on the road again. So yeah, they're having a great old time. But anyways, my podcast system went with them up to Canada, along with my pizza oven. My Uni pizza oven is on its way to Canada. So pizza parties for all who are in Canada. Come on over. And what else? If you want to be a guest on this podcast, please, we want you. Again, the bar to become a guest isn't incredibly high. It's high. We want you to be interesting. Are you interesting? Are you funny? Do you have some great stories? Do you like to talk? Do you like to share those stories? We'd love to have you as a guest on the podcast. So contact Sarah, our producer, and it's an easy email address, producer@geezersofgear.com. And she will do a little screening to make sure that you meet that massive criteria that we require, and she'll get you scheduled. So it's as easy as that, and we'd love to have you. And remember, if you're listening to this, like and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to it. That helps me and helps us tremendously. It helps grow the podcast. And as I've said before, as we grow the podcast, it becomes better for listeners, it becomes better for guests, and it becomes better, of course, for our sponsors as well. So we appreciate you. Please like and subscribe, comment, even if you hate it. I don't mind those comments. I've had my butt ripped out by some of these people commenting about my self-driving car comments. It's okay. I don't profess to know everything. I just like to talk a lot. So thank you again for liking and subscribing to our podcast. And so today's guest is going to be a popular one. This will be probably listened to a lot, right up there with some of the most recent really great ones. But Mike Finocchiaro, and I'm sure I butchered that. Finn is a 25-year veteran of the live event industry with roots as a touring lighting technician and a successful career in event production. Mike has grown to be one of the most well-respected production managers working today. Over 2 decades spent touring the world, Mike honed his skills as a master of organization while overcoming some of the most technically challenging production designs, venues, and event logistics in the process. Mike developed a heightened sense of efficiency, reliability, and diplomacy as his production experience grew throughout the years. Now operating with a broadened scope, Mike leads a production team with the same ideals. Big Fin Productions is the byproduct of over 25 years of workflow development, bringing countless productions to life as a production partner. Big Fin Productions delivers top-level shows on time and on budget. With a deep pool of resources and a passion for streamlined production, Big Fin Productions has become a go-to for successful production management. Please welcome Mike Finn.
Thanks for having me on.
What is it? It's Tuesday. These Monday holiday things mess me up.
Screw you up, right?
They mess me up, man.
Yeah.
It feels like Monday.
It does. And well, it feels like Super Monday because I came in today with exponentially 2 days worth of work, right? It just seems like more than if it was a regular Monday.
True.
Because
Huh?
it's Tuesday with all the Monday stuff piled on top of it. But we're going to knock
Yeah.
it.
Do
Yeah.
you still travel or
I
is
do.
it more of a desk job?
I try to stick in Vegas as much as I can. I'm back and forth between Vegas and LA. We're looking to open up a venue in LA. That's one of our next projects here, one of the next phases of my life. But I do try to stick close to home and, just take short trips, go in, get jobs started, things like that. And then, and then get back to it. Cause, we got a lot going on here. Vegas is our base of operations for, the whole US. So every time I leave, I come back to a pile of work. Like we were saying earlier, I like to be around and stay on top of it.
Yeah. When you talk about a venue in LA, so what's that all about?
After all these years of doing what I'm doing, and working in venues all over the planet, I want my own space. We're thinking like maybe like old school, bring some of that old school back, like cabaret dinner style, like with the big booths, like picture Elvis in Vegas back in the 70s with some good acts. To just really bring some like quality entertainment and just have a good time. Like just kind of spend some of my years living out my vision and just having it my way. That's kind of
good
what
for
we're
you,
going
man.
for.
Good for you. Sounds fun. And so what kind of music are you envisioning, or just all kinds?
Everything.
Whatever.
I mean, I always, we're definitely gone in the, in a glam Hollywood kind of style. My girlfriend and I are looking at doing something that's like a nod to old Hollywood, maybe do some burlesque, some comedy, that kind of stuff, just something, something fun, something that we enjoy putting on, and, nothing too big, nothing too crazy. I don't want to have my life revolve around it. I want to be a part of it, and I want to enjoy it. I want it to be something that I can go enjoy outside of the business that I'm in right now. I've been
so have you already got the space? Like, how far are you, or is it still just an idea?
We're new into it. We just started looking at spaces online. We've talked to a few realtors. We're just really getting it going. Like 6 months, I think, is where we're really talking about, like being able to jump into this thing.
Very cool. Good luck with that, man.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll have to check it out when I'm in LA. I'm on the board for a company that's in LA, so I'm getting there a lot more now. I hadn't gone in, I don't know, 4 years or something since before COVID, but now I'm there every quarter for a board meeting. I love it
out there. Guess what? I'm in Vegas, but I love the ocean. I love being out there. I love the weather. Just a different set of, a different set of weather every day. That's what I like. I like to be able to feel the ocean around me, that kind of stuff. The desert it's got its own thing and its own benefits and its pluses and everything. But I definitely dig the ocean too. So I kind of want to be back.
Things don't really change a lot with the weather in Vegas.
No, it's the same, and then it gets hot, and that's it. And it's nice.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I'm a car guy, a motorcycle guy, so I definitely dig the weather in that capacity.
Yeah.
But I like the ocean. I think it's very calming, and I think in my later years, that's where I want to be hanging out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love the ocean.
You're down there in Florida. You get it. That's important.
And everyone always says, and I don't necessarily agree, but I kind of do. I guess if you took it away from me, I'd probably agree. But I have a house in the mountains in Canada, in the Rockies, and I live in South Florida. And everyone says, "Oh my God, you have the best of both worlds." And sorta, yeah. I mean, and I'm kind of, for the first time ever, the past couple of years, I've been taking advantage of it. Like I go. I'm leaving next week, and I'll be there until, I don't know, October or something. Yeah. And then I come back here when it's getting freezing cold up in Western Canada, and I come back to South Florida.
It's probably getting hot right now, right where you're at. I mean,
it's nasty.
Somewhere, it's probably starting to get that sticky, right?
Yeah, I'm in Palm Beach, but it's been unseasonably hot. Like it got into the high 90s a couple weeks ago in early May, and that typically doesn't happen, but. Yeah, it's unseasonably hot right now. So
you're gonna bail. I get it. Smart. It's good to have options, right?
Yeah. I mean, the only downside in Western Canada recently has been the fires. So like last year was good. The year before that there was just so much smoke, and most houses up there, mine included, don't have air conditioning. So you leave windows and doors open, and when it's brutal smoke, you want to close your windows and stuff so you don't have that stuff blowing in, but it's just so hot then inside, and there's no air moving, and so it can get crappy because of the smoke. But other than that, I mean, like it'll be cool one day down into the, high 30s, low 40s at night. And then the next day it'll go up to, 82 or 83 or whatever.
Well, hopefully the
So,
fires keep to a minimum, right? I mean, that's the key,
yeah.
right? That's the win-win right there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been a shitty season so far, but who knows? Like, they need a bunch of rain and that'll calm the fires down.
Maybe it'll come.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, over 25 years in the industry. What's that? How long?
30 now. That you pulled up an old website. That was Big Fin Productions. We made that. Yeah, I looked at the picture. I'm like, man, I don't look like that anymore. That was a couple years ago for sure. Probably 2015 when we launched Big Fin Productions. We were Mike Finn Productions from 2006 on. 2015, we decided to make it more of an entity, and instead of just me, Mike Finn, people expected me to be on every job. Once we became Big Fin, it really opened up a lot of opportunity for us to have people in place and staff in place instead of just myself. So we did that 2015. The newest incarnation that works hand in hand with Big Fin Productions and all the other Big Fin SLC, some of the other companies that we have, is Big Fin International. And that's the newest website there. That's where I actually look the way that I do now, a little heavier set, a little beard. But we're about, I started in 93. So we're about, 30 plus years in at this point.
Wow.
It's been a long run. It goes fast.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I know. I get it. I've got a big birthday in a couple of weeks. So
all right.
I'm not super excited about that one. But the flip side of having a big birthday is not having a big birthday. So I guess I'll take it.
It's the best years of our life, man. I'll say that. I had a lot of fun in the past, but right now I am truly living my best life.
Good for you.
It's where I want to be. I don't regret 1 second of where I've been. It's been a hell of a ride. And, I'm ready for all the next chapters. And that's where the venue comes in. We're doing a lot of charity work. I mean, everything that I have an opportunity to do now that I definitely wouldn't have been able to do 10 years ago or even 20 years ago. So,
I mean, having some success and knowledge and experience and stuff puts you in a position where you get to use those things for
do what you want to do instead of what you have to do, right? That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Doing what you want to do and try to change the world in a way that you see benefiting all instead of
my girlfriend asks me all the time, would you retire? And I'm like, I don't think so. I might change what I do at some point. If somebody comes along and pays me a stupid amount of money for my company, I may go, okay, let's do that. Cause I've been doing the same thing for 20 years ish. I mean, I do a lot of other stuff, but
sure.
I've had my company for a little over 20 years and I love what I do. I love the company and everything, but I love different things. I love adventures,
What is retirement though, right? Is retirement, people picture it sitting on a dock fishing or something, but to me, retirement is just doing what you want to do. Strictly doing what you want to do. And that
with
could be
the people you want to do it with.
Yeah, that's it. Having a whole
And what do you do every day? Right? You do what you want to do with the people you want to do it with. So why retire?
Retirement to me. It's not sitting back and wasting away. It's really accelerating your life and doing, enjoying the fruits of what you put your time into for the past however many years and being able to do what truly feels good to you and help shape the world the way that you see that it should be shaped.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I love the water. I love boats, but I couldn't sit on the beach every day. There's just no way. I'd go crazy. I'd lose my mind.
I get through like a couple days, right? You get there, you're like, okay, this is good. You start to calm down after the second day. Third and fourth day are okay. By the fifth or sixth day, you're like, okay, I need to go do something, right?
Yeah.
Get back to it. But,
I'm that way too. I mean,
not long term.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, like, most people I know who go through, call it a normal retirement, end up dying 2 years later or whatever. It's like when you don't have that passion every day and the thing that drives you every day, it seems like, something happens like to your biology, You
start rusting, right? I mean, literally,
I guess.
It's funny. So I'm into these old cars and we pulled apart a 64.
Like what?
I have a lot of Cadillacs. I mean, that's been my thing. I'm Big Fin, obviously. That's what we're all about. But I have a 64 Fleetwood, and it's having some problems, and it's the carb. And why? Because it's been sitting, okay? And it's just been sitting with gunk and old gas. That's retirement. I don't want to be that Fleetwood. I want to be somebody that stays sharp, stays on the move. I always say Big Fin also like a shark. got to keep moving all the time, right? Got to keep moving or you die. You just got to keep swimming and finding new things to go after, and that keeps life exciting. And
yeah, it's funny. I was talking with my girlfriend just like probably last week about this. I said, humans, we're just like boats. Like every time I've had boats, when they sat in the marina for 3 or 4 months and I didn't touch them, when you'd get on it, there was always things broken. And I said, it's the same thing when you get into your 50s as a human. If you're not exercising, like you'll wake up one morning with sore knees, you'll wake up the next morning with sore ankles, you'll wake up the next morning with something else wrong.
Yep.
You need to keep working this stuff or else you run into problems.
And I turned, I'm going to be 52 this year, but last year it was like after I turned 50, it was like the check engine light went on, right? I realized that there was like health problems that I didn't even know about, diet, things like that, all these things that were kind of hanging with me last year, and I didn't feel like I was firing on all cylinders. I attribute it to getting old. Went to the doctors, got checked out. They said, your blood sugar's high. You got to do this, change your diet a little bit. I did change my diet, started hitting the gym a couple times a week, and the energy level came back stronger than it's ever been before. And I feel like that is part of it, is don't let yourself waste away. Like keep yourself moving, keep yourself active, especially in your later years. I think it's so important.
Well, and you know what? Like nobody likes to talk about this, but have you ever tried testosterone?
No. Is that a good thing?
It's amazing.
Really?
It is friggin' amazing. I stopped taking it because I have to really focus on my heart. And one of my doctors says it's bad for my heart. Another doctor says it's really good for my heart. So, I'll err on caution on this one just because, my dad died of a heart attack at 52.
You don't want to screw around with your heart. Not at all.
Yeah, I pay a lot of attention to that situation. But it's amazing. I mean, it makes you crave exercise. It makes you crave good food. Your attention and just like, those 2-3 o'clock desires to lay down and nap or whatever, that goes away. Like, I mean, it's a real thing. Like your testosterone level, if you're a normal male in their early 50s, is probably down to like 300 now or something. And it should be anywhere from 700 to 1100.
Wow.
And so it honestly, like, it is amazing.
They told me diet and exercise, so that's what I've been hitting pretty hard. Is like
diet and exercise is amazing.
That's definitely worth asking about.
Yeah, I mean, taking testosterone, that the diet and exercise just has a whole nother level of impact. It just works so much better, and it's sort of a dirty secret that nobody wants to talk. Hey, have you ever taken testosterone? It's like this weird thing where nobody wants to talk about it because I guess it makes you less of a male or something. I don't know. But to me, it is incredible. Now, there's some weird stuff there. It's funny because I had this conversation on my podcast with Dearson a couple of months ago. And we had a similar experience. But I will never forget the first time, because the doctor was like, do you want to come into our office and have the testosterone administered? Because it's a needle in your ass.
Oh.
And I'm like, no. I can do that myself. Don't worry. And he goes, well, it's a little tough the first couple times.
But medical needles, not my thing.
No, it's not easy. And I will tell you, it doesn't sound near as hard as it really is to put a needle in your ass. And it's a big needle, too. And it has to hit sort of on the right angle. And so I literally was bleeding all over my bathroom. I kept poking my ass and I'd bleed, and because I couldn't get the needle in properly, because you really do have to jam it in. And I'll tell you, the first time was unbelievable. Like, it looked like I murdered a family in my bathroom.
My God. Yeah, and I'm not qualified to do that whatsoever. I think that's one of the reasons why I stuck so hard to adhere to what the doctor said with getting my health together. Is I don't want to go on insulin, right? They say that's something like, if you don't get your blood sugar under control, you can be one of those guys that has to have insulin every day. I can't imagine sticking myself with a needle every day. So at this point,
easy though, because that's a tiny little needle in your stomach, and you barely feel it.
Sounds terrible.
No, but you barely feel it. Seriously, because when I was doing testosterone, they also made me do this other HGH or whatever it was, but And so you had to do a little needle in your stomach too. That one didn't bother me at all. Like you could barely feel it. And I'm not a needle guy, trust me. Thank God, because I played in bands and toured and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I didn't like needles. So there was
Yeah,
none
yeah,
of that
right.
going on in my
100%.
life.
Yeah, that may be
Yeah.
a beneficial thing over the years, right?
Zero desire to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, the needle in my stomach didn't bother me at all. The one in your ass is, holy Christ, is that hard to do? It just isn't easy.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Even
It's
when you
tough,
get
man.
used to it, it's not easy because it's like, oh, I know this is going to hurt. Ow. Because you got to go into the muscle. It goes straight into the muscle,
Oh my
right?
God. Yeah, that doesn't
Yeah.
sound fun. Not at all. I think I'm trying to stick to, like, I don't want to be on any medication at all. That's the
I'm
goal,
with you.
right? Is to,
I'm the
if I
same
can
way.
somehow manage to, like, just stay away from all of it, that's where I want to be. So that's what I've been
That's
doing.
the right idea.
Work hard to do it, man. That's all.
Yeah.
They tell me I got to drop a little bit of weight, and hopefully everything at that point starts, coming back clear again.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I had that conversation with Robert Roth last week because Robert turned me on to, and you might even check this out, there's a book called Younger Next Year.
No.
And Robert turned me on to that a little too early. I think I was probably in my late 40s when he told me about that book. And but it's amazing. And it really is just, it's about diet and exercise. It's about changing your lifestyle a little bit. Sleep is the other
simple,
big one,
right? I mean, they've been telling us that for as long as I can remember. I don't know how I lost sight of it. I guess you get busy and you're working so hard, you're building your empire, and you're eating what you can when you can. You're not getting the right rest. Your stress, they say, is a huge factor in all that. And
stress,
sleep, your makeup.
Sleep is another big one. Who knew?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I think it almost sounds too simple, diet and exercise. It sounds too simple. So everybody's looking for this magical, drug or solution or whatever. And, I'm glad that a lot of the bad information now is starting to come out on Ozempic because I was worried. I have so many friends who have been taking that, and I'm just like, it seems fishy to me.
Yeah,
anything that works that well.
And I kiboshed it after a little bit. I was like, I don't like this shit, man. Like, again, back to the medication. They were like, you got to get your diet under control, that kind of thing. And I feel like, again, I don't feel like I was overeating. I feel like I was eating the wrong thing at the wrong times. You're coming off a job at 2 a.m. What do you drive? You're driving through somewhere, right? Because there's no food in the fridge, and you got to eat something because you haven't eaten in 10 hours. So you're eating a burger.
Carbs and sugar are the easiest things, right? And they're the most pleasing. But you know what, though? You're Italian. Like, I mean, the real Italian from Italy diet is so good. Like the whole Mediterranean thing,
100%.
fresh ingredients, very few ingredients. It's what I love about Italian food, but it's also what's so good about it for
it's
you.
Delicious. It's fresh and delicious.
It's delicious and fresh.
Again, the food that we get in America here, it's a sad state of affairs. It's processed. It's treated. It's all those kind of things. I feel like the old guy, get off my lawn saying these kind of things, but I'm watching it change, and and you just see it more and more and more that this is
getting worse and worse too. Like it just, as we keep pushing for lower prices, it just keeps getting worse, because all they can do is process it more to sort of stretch it out more and make more profit and whatever it is. So funny story, when I first, because I really got into exactly what you're talking about. So a whole foods diet, real food, and the best food you could get. So it was only grass-fed beef, because I didn't used to eat beef because I thought it was going to give me a heart attack. But the truth is, you can eat beef. It's actually pretty good for you, and there are nutrients that you can only get from beef too. Sure. And Chris Lowe's will come on and shame me for saying that, but sorry, Chris, but he knows that there are certain proteins that you really can only get in the right amounts from beef. And but so if you get grass-fed beef and pasture-raised eggs and all of those types of things, it's actually pretty good for you. And so I went seeking that out. So anyways, I get to my house in Canada, and I go into the grocery store up there, and I call the butcher over, and he's a little Indian guy. And I said, I'm looking for grass-fed beef, but I can't find it anywhere here. And he just kind of sits there like this. And he's kind of looking around, and he doesn't know what to say. And I'm like, oh, wait, all beef in Canada is grass-fed. And he goes, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I did not know
that. Well, in Alberta, anyways. Like, Alberta is where all the cattle are, right?
Yeah.
So it's like in Texas. In Texas, most decent places are going to have grass-fed beef because it's pretty accessible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, It's more expensive and it's a little harder to eat right, but it's not as hard as people think. Like,
Right, and
you
it's
know,
probably worth it. Look at what you might spend on medical conditions, right, from having the
hell
wrong
yeah.
input in your body by taking the easy way, you know. And again,
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
saying I'm
that
out
shit.
there doing it because it's hard. It is. You really got to
Yeah.
put your mind to it. You got to focus on it. You got to be dedicated to it. But
Yep.
I do think there's a lot of benefits to it.
Well, back to that Ozempic thing. So I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen a lot of reports recently that Ozempic, um, most of the weight you're losing is coming from bone loss and muscle
Oh,
loss.
oh,
Uh,
terrible.
so you're basically becoming fat but light. So you're losing weight but retaining fat.
Unbelievable.
And I'm sure there's doctors out there that would argue that, but there
Yeah,
there
they're
are
gonna
some
yeah.
there are some really, really smart doctors who did a lot of testing to patients that went on Ozempic. And the end result was that there's bone loss and muscle loss for most patients. Some patients experience a lot more fat loss, but a lot of times you're losing weight, but you're getting less healthy.
It's the magic pill, right? It's never going to work. It's like magic
Right.
beans, right? You're not
Yeah.
going to grow that bean, that magical beanstalk. Like, stick to the basics. Eat, put the
Yeah.
right thing in your body, exercise
Yeah.
right. You're going to be okay. I know it's easier said than done, but I think it's very
No,
important.
it's true.
That's the
It's true.
longevity
Well,
right
and again,
there.
I go back to the Italian or Mediterranean thing.
Yeah.
Greek food, Italian food is very simple, very few
Yeah.
ingredients. Like I'm French. I don't really like French food because it's too rich and it's too complicated and there's too
Yeah.
many things in it. And, I like it. It tastes good, but I know that it's bad for me as I'm eating it. Whereas
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're eating a nice Italian meal, and I'm not talking, like chicken parmesan or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I'm talking
Something real,
proper
something
Italian food.
like home cooked. Yeah. Like something,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, out of grandma's kitchen.
yeah. That shit's good for you. It's good for you. And a nice glass of wine, and you're good.
Yes,
You're
those
gonna
things will
live.
last a long time too, right? They all have very peaceful lives and
Yeah,
live into the ripe old age and all that kind of
yeah.
stuff. That's
Well,
really
another cool thing that I've spent time looking at is this thing called blue zones, and I don't know if you've ever looked into any of that stuff, but it's basically these areas where an ungodly number of people live into their hundreds.
there was a
And
show I watched something on Netflix. I want to say it was like the eight areas where
yeah,
that was the
yeah, they're
facts.
called blue
That was very
zones.
interesting.
Yeah, and generally they're these little villages or whatever where one guy raises goats, one guy raises something else, another guy grows, whatever. And they just they exchange this stuff around the village, and you provide the fresh goat meat and you provide the whatever,
Yeah,
and yeah, I mean half of them live to over 100 years old.
seems
It's
simple,
crazy,
man.
crazy.
Right. I mean, that goes back to that guy that shows up and sees a little old fisherman he's on vacation and he goes and sees this fisherman and says, "Hey, you're out here, you're fishing every day. Why don't you get a fleet of boats and make all this money and then you can relax?" He's like, "I'm doing that right now. I go out
Yeah,
right now and relax and
yeah,
that's it. I have what I need. So why push it?
yeah.
Seems like a lot of those people have the right lifestyle. They did,
No, you're totally right. Like, be
right.
careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah, right.
So, how did you get started you said 93?
In '93,
30 years ago.
yeah, we'll tell the story. So I was a troubled kid, right? Gotten a lot of havoc back there in Philadelphia back in the day, and I
That's
found
where
myself.
that's where you grew up, Philly?
Yeah, I grew up in Philly. Found myself living in a halfway house on a work release, right?
Yeah.
They and part of that gig is you had to have a job, so they sent us out to build a stage for University of Pennsylvania Spring Fling. So first day I show up and I think it was CSS Concert Staging Systems, maybe Mike Zarina back in the day.
Yeah.
He was building a structure, so they put me on that crew. This is my first day. I'm going from being a delinquent in Philadelphia to all of a sudden I'm on this crew. And a chain came down as we built the structure. A chain came down from the tower, a little 12 by 12 tower truss. And I said, "I'll fix that." I shimmied up there and put the chain in a bag and I came down and Mike Z said, "You're a lighting guy." He said, "You're an absolute natural. When you get out of trouble, call me. I'm going to help you. I'll help you get you a job." So I wound up working a lot. That instead of sitting in this halfway house with a bunch of maniacs, I worked. I think I did like 16-hour day, 22-hour day, 16-hour day. I was there, around the clock. But it was great to me. And then I saw George Clinton and P-Funk took the stage. I remember looking out into the audience and thinking, this is transcending everything right now. Black, white, fat, skinny, old, young, everybody was dancing. Everybody was just in this groove. And I went, this is awesome. And I was like,
that's cool.
And I realized this is a business. I can get paid to do this. So,
wow.
I finished out what I had to do. I got a job with, I think I worked for Main Light first, and then I bounced over to Light Action, back to Main Light. And the whole time I wanted to know who does all the big tours. And everybody's always said LSD, Light and Sound Design. So eventually a buddy of mine, Tom Thompson, hooked me up with Barry Claxton. Next thing you know, I was out on the road, and that was the rest is history, man. It's been running ever since then. Yeah.
So how long did you tour with LSD?
I was with them in the 90s. I want to say from the early 90s to I feel like my last touring dates were around 2003, something like that, maybe a little later. But I worked my way up from lighting, from just Truss Monkey, dimmer tech, loved the cable, loved throwing cable, loved feeder, loved climbing. I mean, just a knucklehead from Philly. Like, I love the physical activity of it all, and just being working like that and getting paid. I couldn't believe I was getting paid to do what I was doing.
That's
awesome. I just kept working my way up to eventually I was stage manager for Scorpions, and just did a bunch of tours with them and kept going. So I feel like into the early 2000s, I started doing more stage management, crew chief, that kind of stuff. And then I want to say,
so you worked for PRG?
No, that's why I started drifting on that. So maybe when the sale came and PRG came in, I feel like that's when I started. I'll be straight. That's when things started changing for me. I felt like that LSD way in that community started getting lost in the bigger picture of PRG. And that wasn't something I was into. And maybe that's when I started stepping up the ladder a little bit to start doing my own thing. And that's when I remember being on a bus when it was early 2000s, 2004, maybe something like that. And looking at some people, looking at Cooper, who was a legend, and I learned a lot from him, but I also realized I wanted more from my life. I didn't want to be out there touring, when I was in my 50s and 60s and things like that. And I decided I needed to do something else. So we started Mike Finn Productions. And one of the first gigs that we got was with Ford for the auto shows. And I want to say it was DC, Chicago, and maybe New York, something like that. And pulled together a bunch of my roadie buddies, and we prepped it like a rock tour. So we rolled in there, streamlined as hell, put it up really fast, saved money on labor, and that was noticed. And they said, you know what, you got to kind of a niche thing here. You should try this. So then we started pitching rock and roll efficiency with a suit and tie presentation, right? That was our thing for doing corporates. And we just started getting a bunch of the early 2000s. A lot of corporate money was out there, and we started doing a lot of general sessions and things like that. We really blew up till 2008 when I think the economy took a little bit of a turn.
It blew up, yeah.
And then we shifted gears back to doing festivals. I got pulled in the first year of Electric Zoo on Randall's Island. It was me and just a handful, like 5 other guys, producers. My buddy John Goldstein, designer. Aaron Leventhal, producer, and a couple promoters. And they came up with this concept, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, we'll build this." And really just laid out the whole festival ground, did all the power, laid out the rigging, did all that, and that kept me busy for the next 5 years. We did, we did other things, but that was big. I mean, from the time we started, where I think we sold 30,000 tickets to 150,000, in the last year that we were involved.
That's growth.
That was a lot. And and then Apple. Then I got a call from my buddies over at Light Switch, and they didn't know who I was, but they said, we're doing a big job. Oh, I'm not supposed to say Apple. We're doing a big job from one of the tech companies out there, and we need somebody that can speak construction. That's literally what they said. They had to deal with the unions and things like that. I was like, I could do that, and we rolled out there and we did that. And it was a success, and I just kind of found my niche there. So got back into the corporates for a lot of years, and there you go, man. That's the trajectory. That one right up to doing what we were producing. I started production managing and producing a lot of large scale shows of my own. And I was always bringing in, back then it was Mike Finn Productions. And then we started Big Finn in 2015 to just kind of get my name out of there and just create an entity. Like I was saying,
that's smart.
And that was a lot of the Emmys, production riggers, video engineers, some of the real high level positions. That's what we did. And we were very successful I loved being at the top of that pyramid because I made sure everybody was communicating. They were all on our team. It wasn't a bunch of vendors that came together. It was literally the Big Fin team that was producing this stuff. And it was seamless. The communication was good. You know, we're all moving in the same direction. And it seemed that our X factor, wherever we were in the country, was local labor. You know, what are you going to get? You never know. And best laid plans, you know, if you have 100 guys that aren't willing to help you with that, you know, makes it very challenging on site. So I want to say 2017, we decided to start a labor company to support our own shows. And that just took off. People said, hey,
jeez.
They're like, these guys are great guys. Can we hire them? We said, hell yeah. And we just started doing that. And then that really grew legs itself. You know, at the beginning of this year, we had 1,800 people on payroll, lots of people throughout the country, offices all over the place. And yeah, we've been booming. We do all the work over at Allegiant. We got a show coming up there next week. That's kind of our home base. Our office is in Vegas, but we have satellite offices all over the country. You know, and there you go. That's the business side of it, and all that helps fund our philanthropical, whatever that word is. We go out there and we try to help people. That's the fun part to me.
Backing up a bit though, when did you locate to Vegas? Was that just sort of at the end of the touring thing?
Yeah, 2017. And I'll say the words. I came through town and we did it was a big corporate show over at T-Mobile, and I remember thinking, this is the worst crew that I've ever worked with in my entire life. I said, they're not just, and I always say, I was like, you know, I have to put up with stupid, but I don't have to put up with dangerous, okay? And that was in full effect that day, that I was like, somebody is going to get hurt. These guys don't know what they're doing. This is a very dangerous environment for everybody that's involved. And I was like, we can do better than this. So that's why we picked Las Vegas to kind of kick off.
Interesting, because it needed you. It needed you more than you needed it.
Yeah,
there was just a lot of work there that needed to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how hard was COVID for you then, if you had that many people on payroll and stuff? I mean,
well, we're about 1,800 now. Back then, we had less, you know, probably a couple hundred, whatever it was. You know, we did 17. Our company, we grew 600% or something the first 2 years we were open. It was insane. I always tell people I felt like I was strapped to a rocket. Like, it was nonstop.
Sounds like it. I mean, in the office. That's a lot of people.
12 a.m. Yeah, every day. I was in there every day. I was nonstop, full force. And back then we were small. It was me, my old partner, and his wife. And really, we were managing everything. There was a lot. We put a lot into it. We did really well. You know, things were blowing up. Then COVID hit, and that was like hitting a brick wall attached to a rocket. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I found myself just kind of, you know, at first I was like, oh, it's going to pass. So I remember taking a little break, you know, and then about 2 weeks in, I was like, this is not going to pass. So I started getting a little stir crazy because that's the way my brain works. Yeah. So I just started going to the office and sitting in this empty building by myself every day. Okay, I'm just going to work. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to figure something out. So
we were like me too. It was like, I can fix this.
Yeah. I'm like, something's going to happen. I was like, what can we do? So we started PPE experts, personal protection experts, where we started a COVID testing company, COVID masks, COVID, you know, we did everything that we could. And we were blessed to tie in with a show called Bar Rescue here in Vegas. And also we did some stuff with, what was the other one? Dog Whisperer. Simple little shows, but we were doing a couple hundred tests a week on their staff, on anybody that appeared on the show, all that kind of stuff. And we were not making money, but it gave me something to do. I felt like I was making steps to kind of reopen the industry. And at the same time, we were able to keep our doors open, pay our bills. I had 2 people full-time on payroll unfortunately, I had 2 people that started in the office, I'm going to say 2 weeks before COVID hit, right? They had left their old jobs. They're jumping on board, and that happened. And I was like, I'm not going to let them go. Like, I'm not going to let them just go flounder out there. I'm keeping them on no matter what. So we started this, and they helped me with that. And we rode it out, man. We made it to the other side, you know. And then the first show back from COVID for us was day in Vegas at the festival grounds over here. It was insane. I went from needing nobody to needing 350 people, right? And it was like, okay, start making phone calls. Nobody's around. People don't want to mess with their unemployment. They moved on into desk jobs, like all the things. So that was a tough one coming out of COVID. And
oh Jesus,
just trying to wrangle people, get bodies. And
then probably probably double hard for you because then people are calling you looking for people, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Because you
Everybody's
got a
looking.
labor company too,
Yeah,
right?
right. Oh,
So
absolutely. And there was
yeah.
other things we did. Now that you're making me remember, we started installing security. This guy invented this thing called Baywatch. It was a security camera that went up on a pole in the bays of auto dealerships to like it videoed them working on the car, and it did something to lower the insurance. But we started getting calls for that all over the country. So I'm sending these like super high qualified roadies, right? People that could run massive shows, run massive stadium shows, and they're out there putting in security cameras.
Nest cameras in the ceiling.
It was something, man. It was something. So yeah,
That's
we did
wild.
that. We got through that first big show, and then we just, I realized that a lot of our workforce was gone, and if we were going to succeed, that we needed to rebuild. So that's where I said, you know what? At this point, instead of looking for the people that know how to do this, why don't we make people that know how to do this? Kind of create the Big Fin Army. So we put a lot of time and effort into just teaching the next generation on how to do this, and teaching them the old ways with the new technology, the old theories, the old work ethic, the old things that made us all so successful, but marrying that into everything that's available in today's world to make shows and production flow a little bit smoother and streamlined.
So you do that directly in Vegas, or is that something that's done remote? Or
right now we're moving it around. We have we go to Salt Lake a lot. That's one of our other was the first satellite office that we created. So
why Salt Lake?
There was a niche there, right? So there's a lot. People don't know there was a lot of work there. There's a lot of corporate shows that go in and out of there. A lot of businesses are based in Salt Lake City. A lot of big corporations, things like that. And there was no labor force there. I mean, that's it. We were getting calls. Can you bring in 250 guys from Vegas to come do shows for us? That's the kind of thing that was happening. And we were doing it. And it came to a point in 2019 where one of our vendors out there said, you guys should just open an office here. So we did that, and that's just ticking along. We do the stuff over at the Salt Palace. There's whatever the arena is there now. I don't even know. It used to be called the Target Center. I don't even know what it's now.
Something bank, something or other.
But it was Vivint for a minute, but we're in there. It's a place that was not saturated. They really need quality labor, so we started bringing it in there, and that's one of our spots. But the big plan is to move these classes around the country. Right now we're really trying to streamline the Big Fin U idea and be able to take that and move it, anywhere, and really just get people trained wherever we are.
So the general idea though is what? Like, is it a 2-week training, a month, 6 months? What is it?
Usually we try to go through in 2 weeks. I think that's a fair number,
Yeah.
And we'll have a class in rigging, class in lighting, audio, video, carpentry, ethics.
Don't be a douchebag 101.
And that's literally what the ethics and the safety is. Like, seriously, it's teaching them, like, listen, this is how things operate. Like, you need to learn how to, the etiquette of being in this business. A lot of people don't, and they need to learn that. It's very important. I think if you have a good work ethic and you have proper etiquette and you're not an asshole, right, you're going to succeed.
That carries
People
you pretty far.
Yeah, it really does.
Those
are the people that I want to teach. So we really look out for that quality in people. And,
and do graduates get hired, or how does that work?
What's that?
Do graduates just automatically get a gig, or?
Well, if they do, and once they go through everything, we are happy to put them to work. Like, if you made it through, we see who's going to make it, right? I mean, that's it. Honestly, you see the people that are just there because they think it's going to be cool, and you see the people that are willing to really step up. I'll never forget. We had a class here in this shop here, and something spilled. I saw this kid jump up, come over, and clean it up. I went, "What's your name?" Okay, I was like, "That's the kind of kid that I want to train right there." The kid
that's so
not
true.
thinking twice, and that's really, it gives me an opportunity to really see people and what they're made of, and I hate to say the words, but it's true, whether they're worth investing the time into, because that's one thing.
Not everyone is.
Time to waste at this point.
No, you're right. Well, and the other thing is, when your top guys or girls are on a show and they got to carry the weight of these rookies, you want them, you need them to be worth it. I mean, it can really become problematic, if they're leading around a bunch of dummies, or people who don't care.
Zero tolerance. And that's why I like to be in the position that I'm in, because I see that, after all these years, I can look at somebody in 1 second and say, they're going to be a problem. You can tell when someone's having a bad day. And
Yeah.
you can also tell when it is just in their nature that they are in the wrong place and they shouldn't be here. So why waste 1 minute? Cut them loose. I tell them, listen, there's a lot of places you're going to succeed in this world. This is not one of them. Respectfully, here I'm cutting you loose. Go do what you do. I support whatever growth you're going to do, but this is not the spot for it. And I do that. People might say nowadays that's harsh. It's not. It's actually helpful. Instead of them wasting their time and wasting everybody's time, I'm trying to point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
They've been around for a month. I've been doing this for 30 years. I can see whether you're going to make it or not, or whether you have what it takes, and that's not to say you're a failure. It just means you're not a good fit for where you're at right now. There is a place that's a proper fit for you. And I think it's a positive thing for them to go find that and succeed.
Yeah. I mean, well, and even if you have a lighting degree or something, like, it doesn't mean you're going to be on a rock and roll tour. It doesn't mean, like, there might be a place for you, but it might be by yourself, in a theater or something. Like, it might not 100%. Be, like, there's a whole bunch of different things you can take that knowledge and go do with it. But there
Absolutely.
might be a different skill set required for some of these other.
Don't be discouraged, right?
Yeah, don't be discouraged.
You're learning, and life is about learning. You learn where you're going to succeed and go there. Follow your gut. You know, a lot of times people just want to stick in a place that they should not be in. And I feel like that doesn't just go in our business. It goes in life. People stay places that they've outgrown.
It's something I talk so much to, like, sort of the old school crowd in our industry. And like Cosmo, for example, Cosmo, one of the things we talk a lot about is just how attitude and a willingness to say yes to a lot of stuff can create a career. And, Cosmo always said yes, like, and then figured it out. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know how to,
right? You're like, hell yeah, we can do that. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. How the hell do I do this? Yeah.
Well, and then you call people, well, hey, listen, this is what I'm getting into. Look for the people. It's who over the years really support you too. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know people that are going to help you find your solutions.
The network is powerful for sure. Yeah, the network's powerful. But I find it really smart what you're doing with this this training thing, because, like, I ask people pretty much every week on this podcast, crew or gear, what's a bigger problem right now? And lately it's pretty much been all crew, because gear has caught up.
Yeah,
finally.
Gear is what gear is gear, right? I mean, that's it. I mean, it's always going to be what it is.
Well, it was very problematic for a while, though. You just couldn't get enough. Like, everybody was out of everying.
That is I was thinking maintenance.
No.
Everything
Shortages.
was gone after COVID. Yeah, it was months waiting for anything.
Yeah. But initially, like, people probably would have said, I don't know, both, or a lot of them would lean towards gear, because you just, like, no matter what price you were willing to pay, you couldn't get it.
It wasn't there. Yeah.
Correct. But now it's pretty much exclusively people, and again, it's a shortage of people, but it's a shortage of good quality people. And so
rebuild.
Yeah, some of the largest companies out there, largest rental companies, now have not only recruiting systems built into their company, where they're going out to trade shows or to job fairs or whatever, and they're really recruiting talent. Companies like PRG and Solotech are doing that a lot. Sure. But now they've got internal training programs as well, which they may not have had 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, you just went through the ranks, right? That's it. You started in cable and you worked your way through and came out the other side. But now it's legitimately they're trying to teach them.
Yeah. And one thing you said is early on in your career, you learned, hey, I can actually make a living doing this. Well, even more so now. And, Sooner was talking about this on my podcast, where she said, people don't realize that this is a real job. Like, this isn't, you're not gypsies,
Yes.
And you can make $100,000 a year and see the world and have a really great time with a really great bunch of people and learn a lot of stuff and be on a rock and roll tour. And people don't really understand that. It looks like a gypsy lifestyle.
one of my favorite things in the world is all the kids that have passed through, right? We call them the Finterns, right? From back in the day.
It's hilarious.
They just come through.
You really leaned into this branding thing.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They
awesome.
move on, and you know, I honestly, be real straight. I forget about them, right? I'm on to the next thing. But to get letters, emails, things like that, saying, Finn, I just want to tell you, you changed my life. I just bought my first truck. I just got married. We bought our first house, and that all came from you doing X, Y, Z when I was a kid. And I'm like,
that
cool,
is awesome,
right? I'm glad that
awesome.
I'm glad I had that impact. You know, those are those moments where you're like, you know, you don't even realize you're doing it, but you're showing people that this is something that you can do. And you can have a great life doing it, especially in cities like Vegas, right? I think that goes in a town like this. Like, this is a very viable career here, you know, to teach people. And I think, you know, in the old days, we were looked at as glorified carnies, right? Like, that's what it was. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's what it was. And people pushed, especially in my neighborhood, go into the trades, go do drywall, be an electrician, go, you know, learn plumbing, do that kind of stuff. This was some like fantasy thing, but it's a real gig. It's a real business, a very successful business that kids can be brought into, you know, especially with the right guidance, they're going to succeed. So,
but I mean, early on, you know, it's like theater people still don't make as much as they should. But, you know, my ex-wife was in the record business for the entire time I knew her. And like from high school right up until recently, when there was no more record business, that's all she ever did. Right. And the record business, and it seemed like the touring side of our business a little bit underpaid. You know, record executives that should have gotten, you know, 250, 300,000 were getting like 75 or 80,000 because it's the lifestyle. You get to hang out with pop stars, you know, and
you get a t-shirt. You get to go to shows, you get a t-shirt, right?
Yeah, the touring biz is the same thing. You're going to get laid, you know, and I mean, that hooked a lot of people into the lifestyle. But again, that's the carny side of it all. Now it's a lot more interesting and it's safer. It's cleaner. You know, it's not as crazy. You know, you can have a wife and be on tour,
100%.
You know.
And we actually just implemented it's a health and wellness thing here at Big Fin because I learned a lot about nutrition, right? We were talking about diet earlier. So I was like, I want to help people with that. The dietitians that I work with came in, they talked to me, and they said, we actually have road guys where we're teaching them how to eat on the road. I was like, this is brilliant. So now we're doing the classes here. But like I said, back in the day, we didn't eat. You had pizza at the end of the night. It was cold. You didn't take care of yourself. Nowadays, people are taking care of themselves. They're exercising on the road. They're doing those kind of things, you know, and that's
so
important.
Is the after show meal on the bus now like cauliflower?
Yeah, right, something like that.
Roasted eggplant or something, you know.
I'm sure there's still a pizza kicking around somewhere, but I think now there's choices though. You make your choices on how you're going to take care of yourself out there.
Well, even pizza, you know, like I've become an addict to making pizza. Like I love Neapolitan pizza. Yeah. And you know, I've really gotten into that whole thing and perfecting the dough and all this stuff. And
basic ingredients, like you said, you're
using
basic ingredients.
The best tomatoes, the best cheese, the best everything, right? So you're not just going and buying, you know, breakfast sausage and chopping it up and putting it on with, you know, fat bacon and stuff. Like trying to make a pizza as healthy as you can make a pizza. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a whole bunch of bread.
Yes, but it is delicious.
I just made pizza a couple days ago, so I was just thinking about it again. I want more pizza.
We'll have to get lunch after this.
Yeah.
But this is turning into a good industry. And again, and I think the pay is hopefully catching up. I know on our part, it's funny. I just did a big, we did a big office clean out, and I found my business plan that was written on it was written on a placemat from the Crown and Anchor pub in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's funny.
And literally, I remember asking, how much are people getting paid? I said, we're going to pay them more. And I, you know, added some money to it. That was the start of like, okay, this is how we're going to do things. We want to elevate people here. So, and even to this day, you know, I did a big cost of living raise across the board back last July. I think I was like, dude, gas, eggs, everything is through the roof. And I actually sent a note out to all of our clients too. And I said, listen, we're doing this here. Whether you're on board or not, we are giving everybody a raise across the board, everybody that works for us. Hopefully you're on board and you pass that on to your clients. And I said, it's not a money grab. This is something you just try to elevate people in this business and get those old days. Like you said, hey, it's rock and roll. It's going to be fun, low pay, free t-shirt. We want to get people making a living wage, you know, where they can take pride in what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
So we're a very big proponent of that. And I'm going to keep pushing that as hard and as long as I can to make sure that people are getting what they're worth.
Yeah, most of the labor you're providing is labor. It's like stagehands and
all the way. We just did a show here. We had 20 A1s and 20 V1s. Okay, so they were running all these rooms here at the Venetian for a big corporate show, and then add to that, we had 40 basic stagehands to help load in, build, that kind of stuff. So we have a really wide mix. I mean, we got a show coming up here. It's some award show or something to win, but I know we got 2 production managers because it's all over the place. 2 production managers, stage managers, show callers, all that, as well as a fleet of people to help move gear around, build the rooms, that kind of stuff. So
interesting.
Yeah, we go all the way. I mean, I find things I never thought I'd be putting makeup people out there in the world, but I do, right? It's just part of the world now.
That's wild.
It's that can-do attitude. Hey, you got this? Hell yeah, right? We'll find it, whatever it is. I know people. We know people that do makeup. Like, you find the right ones, you vet them out, find the right people, and you put them in place.
And in our industry, I think it is like, like I have this company, Gear Source. We sell primarily used sound, lighting, staging, video gear. And it's sort of like the eBay of that world, right?
Yeah.
And, lately, one of the things that's been happening is a lot of companies go, hey, Marcel's making a vig off of us when we sell on Gear Source, so I'm going to go sell on Facebook Marketplace and not pay that vig, and then I get 100% of the proceeds. Which it's all good if it's a really simple sale and you're selling it to your neighbor.
My answer is good luck with that. I'm going to listen to what you have to say.
But he's going to come pick it up from your shop, and he's going to pay you cash dollars when he picks it up, and plus sales tax, because you're going to get dinged for that eventually. And most companies don't even know that they need to collect sales tax on used equipment sales, but this is a relatively new thing, and they are monitoring it. But it's all good until something goes wrong. And it's the same in your business. Like, you could go to any old company and get some crew, but when there's a problem, they know that Mike is going to take care of it.
I'm there. Right? I tell people, I say, dude, you can call me direct, whatever it is. I want feedback. I want anything. I'm the guy, I'm there in the morning when I can be, making sure everything's good, especially like on these larger shows.
But not necessarily physically you, but it's the mentality that you've built into the company, and the trust and all of those things that you've built into the company. So
we're going to handle it no matter what.
So, but I mean, at the end of the day, like our touring clients, like when Premier Global needs 100 fixtures for Metallica or something, and it has to be at rehearsals by, the 15th of next month or whatever, they call us. They don't go to Facebook Marketplace. They call us, and they know that it's going to show up on time, right?
Yeah,
and they know it's just going to be handled, period.
And there's also, and we'll bring this up too, in today's day and age and business environment, there are so many legalities involved that all these, and I can only speak on my end on labor.
No, it's the same for us.
We got a bunch of guys, we're going to start a labor company. Go for it, okay? Because there's all the payroll fees, the taxes, the workers' comp, the liability insurance, just on and on and on and on. That's the business part, right? I mean,
it's the same. It's the same with what I'm talking about, Mike. It's exactly the same thing, because I mean, there's okay, so you can do it for free on Facebook, but the thing is, when you get into logistics and you get into, like, we have this very complex software system that determines when tax needs to be collected and then where it needs to be paid to, and we handle all that on behalf of the sellers, so nobody has to worry about it, right? And so, I'm not complaining. It's going to happen. If there's something that appears to be cheaper, people are going to, it's like this shining thing that people are going to pursue at first.
Until it bites them in the ass.
Until they get screwed. Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to get greedy and go, okay, so this buyer's in Finland and I can sell it to Finland. I can ship it myself. It's not that hard to ship from North Dakota to Finland. And it's $100,000 sound system. He's going to pay me in advance. What could possibly go wrong? Well, that advance payment is fraudulent. You lost the money. And, he got the gear because he used his own freight forwarder. And once they grabbed it, possession is 9/10. And you're kind of screwed now. And in 20 plus years doing this, I've never lost anybody any money on fraud. $0. And I'm not even, knocking on wood, because we use processes because we know it exists, right?
What you do, you're a professional.
It's
and there's
what we do, like what you do.
Right? Who do you want building your car? A guy that just, hey, yeah, I know how to
Yeah.
fix an engine, right? Or do you want the guys that this is what we do all the
Hell
time?
yeah.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
it's exactly right. And I learn a lot of these disciplines being around the racing thing too, because yeah, anybody can drive a race car, but at the end of the day, there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a
There's
lot.
just a lot that goes into it.
And that's
You,
why we're having this conversation, right? That's why
yeah,
we are where we are,
yeah,
because we've been doing this a long time. We've
yep,
learned a lot on our way up
yep,
here, and we're
yep.
going to continue to shape the industry, because I want people to do things the right way.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, and it's
Or it doesn't
why
work.
some of the old school lighting designers or sound engineers or production managers are still so gainfully employed is
Yeah.
because, they know that if I give it to you, you're going to handle it, and
Yeah.
it's just things are going to go well and I don't have to worry about it.
That's the reputation that keeps
Yeah.
us on going, 100%.
So I was reading about this Paul McCartney story. So tell me this Paul McCartney story because it's a pretty good one.
Which one?
Well, the one that you slept out for tickets.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. So yeah, I was probably, I want to say 17, big Beatles head growing up, right?
Yeah.
Huge. I had an existential experience or whatever you want to call it one day on some substances when I was a kid that really led me to becoming a Beatles fan, right? Where I saw Beatles faces all over the place in the street and everywhere. So
nice.
Yeah. That's the childhood I had. So became a big Beatles fan. So then I'm out there. So McCartney went on tour for the first time in years. I want to say this is probably 89, maybe something like that. Whatever that tour was.
Yeah.
Flowers in the Dirt might have been the thing he was backing up, but whatever. So at the time, I'm working at some pizza shop. I got long hair, and the place got sold. And the guy came in and said, "Listen, you got to cut your hair, or you don't have a job." And I was like, "I'm not cutting my hair." So I went home, and I was like, "All right, I'm just sitting in my lawn chair in my room because it's the furniture I had back then. I'll be doing bong hits or something."
That's
and
funny.
I hear on the radio McCartney tickets are going on sale, and I went, you know what? I'm going to go do that. So we went down to JFK Stadium. I was number 12. This is 2 weeks out. Okay, 2 weeks out from tickets going on sale. I'm number 12 in line. All right, so I'm sitting out there.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
You camped for 2 weeks.
Chair. I was out there for 2 weeks. I got my lawn
Holy
chair.
Christ.
I had a sleeping bag that I wrapped up in trash bags and duct tape because I didn't even know what gaff tape was back then. I had an umbrella. I had my radio so I could listen to the radio. And here we are. And it turned out the first 11 people in line were all homeless that like scalpers in Philly went up and said, "Hey,
somebody paid them to be in line."
Yeah, you're sleeping out here. Guess what? You're going to sleep over here, and I'm going to give you a case of Natty Light and bologna sandwiches for the whole time." And yeah, hell yeah! So it's me and all these guys, and before this thing was over, there was about 3,000 people in line, right, all the way up. It was bad. It turned into a big party. So I remember tickets are going on sale, and I'm walking up there, and they knew the first so many people were scalpers. So they're giving them not the best tickets. So I get up to the trailer. I remember I had on my Revolver tie-dye and Love Me Do's playing on my radio. And I looked at him. I said, "Listen, I'm not a scalper.
Smelled like shit, though, right?
And they gave me like, what's that?
You probably smelled like shit, though.
Yeah. But guess, look who my neighbors were, though. So what's the difference, right?
That's true.
Yeah, right.
True. But it's just hard to separate yourself from the homeless guys when you look like one and smell like one, right?
Hanging out there, but it was a party. It was, I mean, as the line grew, as you can imagine, it turned into a party, right? I mean, everybody, all the way through. So I get up there, they give me tickets, front row center seats. I fucking lose my mind. I start running, I'm all excited. And then it was like the Charlie and Chocolate Factory. All these people are around me. "Hey, sell me your tickets, blah, 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 blah." I was like, no. So then me and my buddies went to the show, and I knew that he ended with and in the end, Golden Slumbers. And in the end, the Love You Take is equal to Love You Make. And there was, the drum thing, and then guitars going back and forth. And I knew that was coming. So when that came, I was like, I looked at my two buddies, and I'm like, "Dude, let's all jump on stage." I was like, "One of us will fucking make it up there. We're going to do this." So I looked for the weakest security guard. I remember, 17-year-old
kid.
Why,
though? Why does this thought enter your mind? Like,
because
why?
I'm a maniac. I'm a 17-year-old kid.
But I was a 17-year-old maniac, and I never looked at the stage and went, "I got to be up there."
I'm doing it. I'm like, I got to meet Paul. I was like, this is my chance to get to
That's
a Beatle.
hilarious.
Like, I just want to high five him, some shit. So it's going. I jump on stage. I start running. Right as I got to Paul, I get swatted out of the air. Okay. All right. Of course, I'm not thinking of, like, nowadays, I'm way older. I have, like, in retrospective thoughts here, I think, okay, what happened to John Lennon? Like, security is an important thing in that world, especially after what happened to my buddy Dimebag. Like, all this is very real in my brain now. But as a 17-year-old kid, I'm just excited. I'm pumped up with music. So I get swatted out of the air, get thrown off the stage, land on some camera track. I'm holding on to like the railings until I see the last note of the show. I let go. We all go falling back with the security guards. Roll outside, meet my buddies. We leave. It's the greatest day of my life. And then years later, I get called that McCartney's doing a show at Carnegie Hall, and would I like to come be a part of it? So, I went in and I got to be a part of that show. I could have. My life was complete at that point. I mean, I hate to say this now as being a businessman, but I didn't even care if I get paid. I was like, I just did this McCartney show. This is awesome. I've peaked. But then time and time again after that, I kept getting calls to go work with them on. They did Coachella. They did a one-off show at the Highline Ballroom in a little club. Which, when people say what was the best show that you've ever done, that was it. Standing with some like crusty old road guys with Paul in a little club singing "Hey Jude," and the whole audience is singing. Like, I'm getting goosebumps now.
That is awesome.
And I looked at my buddy Dave Walker, and I was like, Dave, this is why we do this right here.
Yeah. Are you still a big Beatles guy?
Oh, of course, I love it. I'm not jumping anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to shows unless I get to see some of my friends there. But
yeah,
I am a big Beatles. They definitely changed things. It was inspiration for me. I mean, let's go back to that. Growing up, I looked at the Beatles, I looked at Elvis, I looked at people and said, these guys made it from absolutely nothing to taking over the world. And that was the inspiration that fueled me that, who cares if you're just a kid from Philly? Like, you could do anything. You could do anything you put your mind to if you're willing.
Oh, absolutely.
And take the beating to get there. And that's what we do. And that's what we did. And, I think that's why I've always had such a connection to them. They really changed the world. They went from being these kids to change in the world, and that's something that I truly feel like I'm here to do, and I'm going to continue to do that. It's part of my destiny.
No, I completely I completely agree with you. Did you ever read the book, the Mal Evans book? What's it called?
I've read a lot of Beatles book. I don't know if I know who Mal is.
Like My Life with the Beatles, living the Beatles legend or something like that.
I don't think
Mal Evans was like their original roadie.
He was their guy, right? He was that dude. Yeah.
It's a cool book. I mean, he tells some really great stories. It's basically, he wrote it. It was his diaries and stuff. And it's his son who finally put it out just like, I don't know, a year ago or less. And I was never a huge Beatles guy. I was a Led Zeppelin guy. I grew up a musician. And
hey, don't get me wrong. I love Led Zeppelin too, okay?
Yeah.
And Sabbath and the Stones, but like I said, I had that experience when I was a kid that just tied me right in. Yeah.
That's a great story, though. I mean, again, when we talk about the young kids today or whatever, right? Like, the fact that people won't experience standing in line like that for tickets and, because everything's online now. And
you used to sleep out. That's what you did. You wanted good seats, you slept out. That was a part of the thing.
Yeah.
I did it many, many times as a kid, but that's how you got the seats you wanted to get.
Yeah. In Canada, they had this thing called Bass ticket outlets with, and they were all in Sears stores. So people would line up through the Sears store or outside the Sears store or whatever, whenever tickets were going on sale for big concerts.
Absolutely. I remember those days. I don't know if it was Sears, but I remember department stores are behind the optical department or something like all these maniacs.
A little ticket office.
Ready to get in there, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, again, young kids these days don't experience those things. They just go online and buy tickets.
They get in a queue, right? We're in queue. We're going to sit here and we got our space, and then they get some.
And you're first in line, and you get tickets in the nosebleeds.
Yeah,
and then they learn how the real world really works.
That's right. That's right.
No, it's funny. I mean, it's crazy what's going on. Like, I don't know what you think about it, but I keep saying. Like, I keep thinking, the other shoe's going to drop or however you say it. But, like, it just seems wacky what's happening with pricing and just
it's crazy
demand for live events right now, concert tickets. It's just gone.
It's insane.
Like, I went to a hockey game.
The gold level, the this, the that, everything. Where,
it's insane.
And the money for those tickets is crazy, but people keep paying it. So they're going to keep doing it, right? That's the way business works. They're not going to stop. If people are willing to pay the prices, they're going to keep it going.
Well, you've seen the thing that's happening with Live Nation, right?
Oh, yeah, your Live Nation, right.
Yeah, Live Nation and Ticketmaster
Yeah,
and the Fed going
yeah,
after them to try and break it up. And I read there's an email going around. I forget who wrote it, but it's somebody in our industry, a promoter. And the bottom line is, even if the government does what they want to do and get it broken up,
yeah.
the price ain't going to go down.
Right.
That'll just get eaten up by either Live Nation still or by Ticketmaster still
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, the
It's been
artists
stagnant.
want the
It's
prices
been
higher.
stagnant. It's hard to go backwards. Now that it's
Oh
out
yeah. Well,
there. Yeah,
artists aren't suddenly going to go, we don't want that much for
yeah.
tickets anymore. Like, that ain't going to happen. The
Special
fee
program, right?
the
They're like
fee
one
is
of the.
still a small part of the ticket,
Yeah,
Like, if you look at a $400 concert ticket, it's not 300 in fees and 100 to the artist. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. They're gonna keep it going.
but I mean, it's great for the industry. And, I hope it keeps happening the way it is, because it's just created such demand for our industry and for the people in our industry and stuff, which is amazing. And, the money just keeps going up and up, which is really nice. But
You just got to share the wealth. That's the big
as
thing,
a
right?
consumer, as a
Yeah.
consumer, it's brutal. Like, I went to a hockey game a couple days ago. I'm here in South Florida, and the Panthers are in the conference final
Yeah.
against the Rangers. And I've been to games this season, but not in the playoffs. So a beer was $19.50.
Oh my God.
Parking was
more than a case of beer for 20. You can get a case for less than that.
general parking was $65. And I mean, 2 years ago, parking was free in this arena,
Yeah.
but now it's $65. I mean, it was nuts. Everything you looked at was just like, holy shit, regular people are doing this. Like, where are they getting the money?
Yeah.
So
You're working hard. You got to prioritize. That's the hard part there. That's why people need to make a good living right now, because everything is getting more expensive, and we need to keep up. Everything needs to keep up. It can't just be the cost going up without salaries going up too.
No,
we really got to be able to take care of people so they can live these lives.
Inflation. Yes. So tell me about Santa's Roadies.
All right. So that's a big one. That's near and dear to my heart. It's my favorite day of the year. It started back, I want to say 2006. Business, Mike Finn Productions was doing well. We were doing good. For the first time in my life, I had a business. I wasn't just working for somebody.
Yeah.
And I made enough money to buy my first Cadillac, which back then was $10,000. And to me, that was an infinite amount of money. But I was able to get a 1960 Cadillac. And I felt like, okay, I'm really hitting it right now. Like, things are good. Life is good. Business is good. All these things are happening. So I loaded up. I bought a Santa suit. I loaded up my Cadillac with toys. I grabbed my daughter and I just started driving around. Okay. She's probably 2. She's sitting over here in her little seat, and we're going places, and I'm going in, I'm delivering toys to people. Like I say, hit the Salvation Army. I hit the Children's Hospital, just randomly doing this. And
so you just went to a department store and bought a bunch of toys, or what'd you do?
Toys R Us. Okay. That's where it was.
Wow.
Back then. Okay. Cause it was across the street from my daughter's daycare. So I picked her up, and then I drove over there and just loaded it up and said, all right, we're going to do this. So just started driving around dressed as Santa. And I got pictures from back in the day. She's a little tiny kid. So then we started doing that. It became a little more established year after year. I started working with Salvation Army. They gave me a place to set up. They brought the kids in. I was able to get a list of what the kids wanted, really building on this thing. But again, this is all personally funded and just something that we like to do. And I got to a point where as my daughter got a little bit older, she was always my little elf, and I had her handing out candy canes and stuff. And she handed it to this one kid who he may have had Down syndrome or something like that. But when she handed him the candy cane, he got really excited. He started pumping his fists and got really happy. And I looked at my daughter, Dakota, and her eyes lit up, and I could see that she just got this message of holy shit, this is about giving. Okay. Giving is way cooler than getting. And I was like, that was a moment for me to see that she realized that. And she became a big part of what we were doing. So we continued on in Philly. I went up moving up to northern Idaho. That's where I met her mom up in Spokane. We moved to Coeur d'Alene. So I hooked up with a women's shelter up there. And then every year they were giving me a list of, okay, here's what here's the kids that are here. This is what their wish list is. So I was able to wrap them up, get them their wish gift, wrap it up, put their name on it, go as Santa Claus. And there were times when some of these little kids, really, you could tell they thought I was Santa Claus. Like when they opened it up and saw
That's
not only
wild.
the doll that they wanted, but the dress that went with it for themselves. And they'd be hanging out kind of like right next to me, like, looking up like, oh my God, I'm standing next to Santa Claus. Those are the moments. Okay.
But this was still just you and your company
me.
doing it.
Yeah. 100%. Just me.
Huh.
Yeah. And I was loving it. Okay. Me and my kid. So, it was something that I looked forward to every year, was getting dressed like Santa, driving in a Cadillac and bringing joy. Like that was just our thing. We did it. So it stayed like that for a long time, wherever I moved. I mean, we did a lot of families. There was, we did the women's shelters. We did teen shelters. They needed stuff like deodorant and socks and this and that. We really just laid it all out and took care of as many people as we could. And then wherever I went, I continued that on through the hardest times. Went through a crazy divorce back in 2013. People are like, you still going to do it, man? I know it's tough right now. I said, there's no way I'm not going to do it. Like, this is the year that we got to do it the most. Like, keep it going. Kept doing it for year after year. And then we got into, and it was always so then I got a lot of good positive feedback from people in our industry. Hey, if you want to help, how can we join in? This kind of thing. So that production was definitely a big part of that. Like a lot of the people that I knew they wanted to help. They wanted to volunteer, help wrap presents, whatever they could do. COVID hit. And it was a big turnaround. And I said, all these people that have been willing to jump in and throw some elbow grease in there when they need it, now they need help. I said, let's take this thing and we're flipping it. Instead of doing just the holidays, we started filling up bags of food. Okay, we'd do 200 bags of food. I'd have my daughters write little messages on them. And I had said, you can come anonymously, come drive through. We'll take care of you. And we started doing everything that we could to help the people in our industry while we were going through
amazing.
that. So then it went from that to, instead of Christmas now, it's Thanksgiving. These people don't have anything. We came up with 200 turkeys. All the trimmings, everything, made up bags of that. And we just really started giving back to people in the community. And it helped. Like we made a difference. There's people that I didn't even know, and I'm not going to mention names, but I met them. We were on shows, and they said, it's Cosmo actually introduced me. Hey, this is XYZ. And I shook their hand, and they said, you don't even know this, but I was at a low point in my life, and you gave us this dinner that I'm getting chills right now talking about it. I didn't even know that we did it, but to know that we were touching all these different lives. So then it became more of an entity, kind of like going from Mike Finn to Big Finn. Santa's Roadies really took on its own thing that year and grew bigger than it ever was before. So then I talked to some of my business advisors, said, you know what, man, you're going to keep doing this thing. You should make it a 501c, make it official, and really start helping some people. So we shifted gears with that, and we became a 501c, and we started really helping people. I have to tell you this. There's a guy downstairs right now. I saw a little text come through. I partnered up with him last year. I'm going to backtrack, but it all ties together.
It's all good.
So last Christmas, so it was the 23rd, and we had about 75 families, we'll say, and we had tons of toys. We had everything. We're out here wrapping them. We're doing everything. We're getting ready in the shop for that. And it was a lot. There was a lot to go distribute because we're driving around, dropping all this off. I had a pickup truck and my Cadillac filled. So on the night of the 23rd, I get a text from this guy that he had sent an email and somehow it went to spam, but he ran a mission here. And he said he had 50 families that had nothing. And this is the night. This is 10 p.m. on December 23rd. And everybody in the organization was like, man, that's a lot. It's too much. We got so much to do. I said, fuck that. We're doing this. So we woke up the next morning. We rallied. We got everything. We got bikes. We got all the stuff for the kids. We fulfilled those 50 families. We drove over there, and his name's Reggie. He's got something called Seeds of Hope, I think it is. We partnered up since then, We took care of all these people. He couldn't believe it. He was like, this is a gift from above. I can't believe this is happening. You're helping so many people. So Reggie and I hooked up. He's actually downstairs right now. I'm meeting with him after this. Since then, we do an outreach every week. He feeds 500 people a week out of his house. Wow. So we're a big part of that. But we're also, this is important. We're looking at it's an old church that is for sale that we're trying to buy here in Vegas that we could turn into an outreach place where people could come in there. They could get a shower, a change of clothes, some job training. We do a lot here where we try to hire people that are coming out of jail, things like that. We want to give people an opportunity because that's what this world is about. And listen, I got an opportunity. We go back to the beginning of this conversation. Yeah. Where did I come from? I want, and you can see people that are a mess, and you can see people that, hey, I just need some direction. We try to help all those people. So that's what part of this church thing that we're doing now is, and yeah, we're trying to
Santa's Roadies now then is a 501c, and so are you raising as well, or are you just still?
So usually we get a lot of donations around Christmas. Okay, that's when they all come in.
Right.
It's www.santasroadies.org. Okay, that's our place, and you could go there. You can make donations, things like that. But now that we're going after this church, we're really like stepping on the gas here, because this is a way that we could help thousands of people instead of hundreds of people, and this is just a passion project for me, man. Like,
good for you.
I feel like the most blessed man in the universe to be sitting here having this conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, to know where I came from, to look at my life now, and it's not easy. I'm never going to say things are easy. I always say, you can get anything you want as long as you're willing to take the beating to get there. Right. That's what it is.
You're right.
You're right. But I want to help. I have a destiny here, man, on this planet. I want to help the world. I mean, it sounds
amazing,
easy and cliche. I want to make the world better than it is right now. I want people to go, you know what? That one guy, man, he really made an impact on my life. He inspired me to go change my life. And that ripples out into the world and into the universe. And, hippy dippy as that is, that's what it's all about, man, is creating this positive energy and sending this energy out into the universe. And that's the way I want to spend my later years.
Well, it sounds to me like you've already, done that. You know what I mean?
Go big or go home, though, right?
Yeah, you've already done that.
We just have a toe in the water. I want to get this ocean. I want to create. I know what I call it? Charity tsunami. That's what I call it, a charity tsunami. I want this thing to go washing out over everything and everybody, and just put positive change and positive motion into everything that's happening in this world.
You know what, though? There's a lot of feel good in that. Like I remember when I first moved from Canada to where my now ex-wife lived in Chicago. I was like, you know what? I don't make $1 million. I feel blessed. I was 25 or 26 years old, and I felt like I was doing okay. And I said to her, we were listening to the radio one morning, Jonathan Brandmeier in Chicago, who was a big morning DJ guy. And he said, hey, there's this opportunity where you can adopt a family for Christmas.
Awesome.
And I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And so we got a list from this family of the things, sort of their Santa list, right? The whole family. Yeah. And we fulfilled their list, and we took it over to their house one night, and they fed us, I don't remember, I think it was cake and coffee or something. And these kids crying as they got every gift that they asked for and stuff. I got goosebumps again right now, and that was
I do too.
That was 30 years ago, Mike. That was 30 years ago.
Computer, man. Yeah.
But it felt so good, and I just thought, I want to do this again next year and the year after, and they killed the program. And so, I can't say that I've been as good as you in going out and finding opportunities, but you've just inspired me to start thinking about it.
Man, it's there, okay? And that's really what it's all about is, listen, I'm doing my job then. If I just inspired you, I am doing my job.
Oh, you definitely inspired me.
Man. It's just inspired.
I have a platform multiple platforms actually, but I've always looked for opportunities to help people. And during COVID, I did a lot of stuff that I'm not going to talk about, but I did a lot of stuff during COVID that was very helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And, it's not, you don't do it just because it feels good. You do it because it's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do. 100%. And there's a lot of people that don't think that way. I'm telling you, man, it's creating that energy and keeping it going. It all comes back around, and then it goes back out stronger, and it comes back around, and it goes out even stronger than that. It just keeps going, and that's what it's all about, man. Everything that we do. Look at the shows that we all got into. We all got into the rock and roll, and why? Because that big energy feed that's going back and forth between the stage and the crowd. That's what life is about. Take that same sentiment outside of the concert venue and just make a positive change and push that out into the world. With full force. That's what it's about.
And I think that's where we should end. I think it's a perfect ending. And plus, you got this dude waiting for you downstairs. So, Mike, I appreciate you taking some time. It's been cool getting to know you a little bit.
It's really been a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on. And, I'm glad we got to catch up and do this. And, let's keep in touch outside of This is what we're doing right
100%.
now. Let's keep in touch.
No, I was gonna say when I get to Vegas, I'm gonna look you up and come in and see your place and stuff.
Please do. Please,
Will
I'll
do.
take you out. I'll show you what we're doing out here. It's
Absolutely, I'd love to.
all right, Marcel.
Thanks
Thank you,
so much,
man. I
buddy.
appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, buddy.